horror games give you an experience like no other. While sure, horror movies are scary, you always feel like you're watching it all unfold and you're not actually in any danger. Whereas in horror video games, guess what, buddy? It's on you. You're the one in control, so it's so much more immersive, and that's why it's one of the most popular forms of media out there. And it's so enjoyable to watch people suffer through online. But over time, the horror game scene has been infected and taken over by a genre known as Mascot Horror, to the point where it's so oversaturated that every single time I see a new one, I can't help but wonder, how did we get here? How did we go from this to this? Welcome back to MewZe 2. Now, since it's Halloween, I've decided to cover a spooky, scary topic, and to that one guy who keeps asking me to make a Luigi's Mansion video, I will eventually, I promise, just not yet. But anyway, Mascot Horror is absolutely everywhere nowadays. You got Five Nights at Freddy's, you've got Poppy Playtime, you've got Garten of Banban. It's absolutely everywhere, and you cannot escape it. And at this point, it feels like every single week there's a new horror game that involves a bunch of colourful characters that are designed to be extremely popular, and I'm just so sick of it. Like, it's clear at this point this is only appealing to extremely young children, so you're not going to get anything interesting out of these games. But we need to look back to see where it all went wrong and what actually is Mascot Horror. To put it simply, Mascot Horror is mascot horror. It's horror where the main enemies are like mascots, you know, like children's mascots. I'm talking like Chuck E. Cheese, like a character that looks friendly, but it actually turns out to be a scary mascot, you know, an evil one. And it's also games where commonly the enemies are the main characters and they're like the most recognizable part of the game. For example, Five Nights at Freddy's, you don't play as any of the animatronics, you know, they're the enemies, but they're what's well known. They're the main characters if you think about it. And that's really where this all started. Five Nights at Freddy's was basically the first game to revolutionize this genre. If you somehow don't know by this point, Five Nights at Freddy's is a game where you're in a scary pizzeria and you have the night shift and the animatronics come after you and they try to kill you, blah blah blah. There's Freddy Fazbear, there's Chica, there's Bonnie, there's Foxy. You probably know this already. And because this game went absolutely viral, these characters became very well known. They became staples of the horror genre. And because these characters in the game are like meant to be mascots for kids, but like they're secretly evil, these characters in the game became really popular with kids, and the series along with it became extremely popular, mostly due to children liking it. And it seems like a lot of developers and companies saw this and went, you know, maybe we could do the exact same thing. Now, this form of horror has existed before Five Nights at Freddy's, so you could make the argument that, oh, they're not copying Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, they're just doing something that's been around for ages. But no, they're not. All right, let's be realistic. They saw Five Nights at Freddy's become extremely popular, and they said, we can do that. That's what happened. Let's be realistic here. Suddenly games like Bendy and the Ink Machine and Baldi's Basics appeared, where it was nice looking characters, but suddenly it turns scary and they try kill you. And these games also did very well, mostly with children. And that's not me necessarily saying these games are bad, you know, like you can be inspired by something else and make something good out of it. These games aren't copying Five Nights at Freddy's, like they're different enough for it to be its own thing, you know, I respect that. However, recently that has changed and these games have become less about the game and more about the characters. Poppy Playtime, Garten of Banban, Amanda the Adventurer. These games don't feel like they were designed with the game in mind. All three of these games basically follow the exact same formula. It's incredibly brightly coloured characters that turn out to be really evil, and scary stuff happens where they chase you and you have to run away, and there's like, you know, there's blood sometimes. And it's just so obviously just completely pandering to children. Like, this is taking what Five Nights at Freddy's did, turning the saturation up to 5,000 and then just running with it. You're just completely ignoring the whole, you know, making a good game bit or making a good story bit and focusing on, let's make these characters very well known, let's sell lots of them, let's get marketable plushies, let's get merch, let's get everything. These games don't have a soul because they are purely made to become popular, and it works. These games are extremely popular among children, and while, yeah, the general older audience can see that, like, you know, this sucks, children don't. they're children. They eat this shit up. That's what's led the mascot horror genre to become so disliked by online communities. If someone makes a mascot horror game, people automatically go, oh no, it's gonna be like Poppy Playtime, where it's just pure garbage. The genre has been permanently tainted by companies trying to make lots of money off children, because that's what they're doing. They don't want to make a game they actually care about or are passionate about, because they don't care about the game. The game doesn't matter. What matters is getting seen and having YouTube videos made about you and having characters that are easily recognizable. That's it. Now, I will say, these games aren't all bad. There are redeeming qualities to them. I'm not going to completely shit on every single part of it. Poppy Playtime has some interesting gameplay mechanics. Amanda the Adventurer has a decently unique story. Garten of Banban. So it's not like the worst thing ever, like these games can exist and that's alright, but they're just not good, it doesn't feel natural. These older mascot horror games weren't trying to become this huge big thing. They weren't made to promote these characters. They thought of the game first and then they made the characters. They didn't do it the other way around like these newer ones are doing. Scott Cawthon didn't come up with the idea for Five Nights at Freddy's as a way to sell bad plushies. He wanted to make an interesting horror game because people said that he probably could, and he did, and it went well, and that's why this game is the most respected out of the mascot horror scene, really, because it wasn't trying to be a big thing. It wasn't trying to be a marketable game for kids. It just happened to turn out that way, and that's all right. And it's all right if your game's aimed for kids, that's fine, but just don't take advantage of the fact that they are kids. I think if you want to make a good mascot horror game, make a good game first and then do the mascots, if that makes sense. And it can be done. Like stuff like Shipwreck 64 is absolutely brilliant, and it doesn't focus on being this, this game that children are going to look at and go, I want to buy a t-shirt of that, I want to buy a plushie of that. It focuses on the game and the story first, and then, has great character design along with that. I'm also slightly biased because I know the guy that made it. But anyway, is mascot horror ruined forever? No, nothing's ruined forever. Someone can always make a great new mascot horror game. It can always happen. It just needs to be done well. That's it. That's literally it. Like you don't have to do something extraordinary to make a great game. You just need to make a good game. I know that sounds, it's easier said than done, but too many people focus on, is this going to be good? Is this going to go well? Is this going to be marketable? Just make the game, just like, if the game's good, people will like it. That's it, man. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments. Please let me know what I should cover next. Please just tell me absolutely anything, and I will probably make a video on it, unless it's talking about my feet or something. Like and subscribe, and have a happy Halloween. Ooh.